Oh, hello there, Internet friends. It's me, Armistice, and I'm here to talk to you today about planetary interaction. Now, I'm on the test server today, so if you see me looking at the market and the values of things seem out of whack, that's all it is. I'm on the test server, just because I'm doing this during downtime for the main server. Now, I'm sitting in a 0.5 system, just because I've scouted it out and I've seen some worlds here that I might be interested in colonizing. Now, why do I want to do this? Well, colonizing worlds and harvesting resources and upgrading them on planets is a really great way to make passive ISK in EVE. You just sort of set it up, which is a little bit work intensive and skill intensive, and you sort of just log in from time to time and maintain everything and haul your goods away, putting very little time into it on a sort of daily or twice weekly basis. And just the money just keeps rolling in, really. And also, it doesn't take that much in terms of skill training to get into this particular activity in EVE. You can get a PI character going in a month or so of skill training, sometimes less, which in EVE Online terms really isn't that long. So let's see what we need to do to get into this. Let's look at the market first. There's really only, apart from your PI ship, there's really only one type of item that you need to invest in, is the command centers. You find them under planetary infrastructure over here, and there is one type of command center for every type of planet in the game. So if you want to colonize a barren world, you get a barren command center. Ice world, ice command center, and so on. You need to have these worlds in your cargo hold. You need to get your ship to the system where the world is located, and then you'll be able to deploy the command center on the planet. You don't actually need to be in orbit around the world, you just need to be in the correct solar system. So you can be in a safe spot or just hanging around the jump gate, wherever you want to do it from. Now the other thing we need is skills, so let's just go to my skill queue really quickly. Just notice it's empty. That's just because this is a PI alt, so he doesn't train anymore. But the skills you're interested in will be in the planet management bar. There's not that many of them. They don't take that long to train up, and you really only need them to 4. You don't. I have most of these to 5, but they really don't need to be up that high. I'm just going to give you a brief description because you can read up on it yourself. But planetary or interplanetary consolidation, you want to have it at 4-ish because it is what allows your character to have numerous colonies. So you start with the ability to have 1. You can get all the way up to 6 if you have this skill to level 5. And of course, the more colonies you can manage per character, the more money you're going to make. Command center upgrades does exactly what the name suggests. It takes your existing command centers and it upgrades them. And with each upgrade of your command center, you get more CPU and power grid, which you will then use to create new structures and new functionality on your colony. You have remote sensing. Remote sensing basically allows you to investigate worlds and sort of assess their suitability for colonization from a distance away. So level 5 allows you to scan within 9 light years, and it goes down, from there. You can read up on that yourself. The main thing with this skill is that it's a prerequisite for some of the other skills, so even if you don't think you're going to use it that much, you do need to have it, I think, to level 3 to unlock some of these other skills we're going to talk about. Now, planetology and advanced planetology, what these do is they enhance the resolution, or a better way to put it is they increase the accuracy at which the distribution of resources on the planet is displayed. So if the interface is showing you that there's this really great rich deposit of some resource on the planet and your planetology skill is crappy, it's actually going to be skewed off to one side or to the other, or it's going to be somewhat inaccurately represented. So having these skills up high is just going to make your life a little bit easier when it comes to trying to extract resources, basically. So enough about that. I do want to briefly talk about the type of ship that you're going to want to have for PI. Right now I'm in a Prowler and it's all cloaked up, so it's one of the blockade runner classes of ship, and that is one way to go, especially if you want to do PI in a wormhole or in nullsec where you don't have sovereignty, or in a wormhole you sort of want to do ninja PI or something like that. Now, another very popular choice would be the epithal. So here's the epithal in ISIS. We click on that and we see that the Galente industrial skill gives us a bonus to planetary commodity hold capacity. So the epithal, for its price point, which is quite cheap, holds a lot of PI goods. It's not very tanky, it's not very fast, but it does a really, really good job at PI. Now, just one final point on this. I don't know if you found this out with the Venture, but I mean, if you put cargo expanders on a Venture, its ore hold is not affected, so you're kind of wasting your time putting cargo expanders on a Venture. And the same thing applies in the epithal. The only way to increase the planetary commodity hold capacity is by upgrading your Galente industrial skill. That's the only real way to do it. So save yourself, put things like warp core stabilizers on the low slots instead of cargo expanders. So there you go. Now let's actually get into the PI itself. So I'm going to right click in space, I'm going to go to planets, I'm going to go to planet 2, and I'm going to view in planet mode. And we see a lava planet. Okay, well that's great, lava planets. Well, let's go to the scan tab. Here's all the stuff lava planets can give me: base metals, felsic magma, heavy metals, non-CS crystals, and suspended plasma. And I see on these bar graphs that the heavy metals is pretty much the only thing on this planet that it really offers in any type of abundance. So we'll click on heavy metals. Luckily, I'm just starving for heavy metals. I want to have heavy metals so badly. So I'm just really happy that this planet just happens to be rich in heavy metals. And yeah, this is not the best, but for high sec, it's not actually that bad. Okay, so I've clicked heavy metals and I can see this sort of hot and cold type map thing displayed. I can see some areas of sort of warmer color that indicate that there might be some good resources there, but I can increase the resolution. I can shrink this graph down and make it sort of make the display sort of a little more useful to me. So now I see, I usually like to adjust it until some white just comes into view, the white being the best. There we go. So I see some deposits there. Let's make it a little more accurate. There. Now, if this is accurate at all, I can see that the very best deposit of heavy metals is going to be this one white spot that I have left on this planet. And this is where that planetology skill comes in. If my planetology skill was crappy, I wouldn't really be able to trust this readout. It would be somewhat inaccurate. Maybe this wouldn't be the best deposit. Maybe, you know, down here is the best deposit. I wouldn't know for sure, but I'd have to kind of, this is what we have to work with. Now, I trust this, so I'm going to put my colony eventually, probably somewhere around this big giant deposit of heavy metals. But let's check one more thing. One of the things we need to relate to or interact with frequently when we're doing planetary interaction is the customs office. The customs office is basically a space elevator or a space station that all of the planetary resources have to go through. It's like a sort of a toll booth for planetary goods, and they can be player owned. And if a player owns them, they can set whatever tax rate on them that they wish. So let's have a look at the customs office in our right-click menu, hit Show Info, and I can see that there's a corporation that owns this, and they've set their tax rate at 25%. So if this wasn't a fake tutorial, if I actually wanted to colonize this planet and try and make money off of it, There is no way I would do it if with a PACO of 25%. I just wouldn't make any money at all. There are well, it's a sandbox game, so players can do what they want. This isn't a particularly self-serving strategy, in my opinion. I would sometimes I scratch my head. But I would think that if you set the tax rate slightly lower, say 10%, maybe you'd actually make more money because more people would want to colonize the world and you'd make more money off the taxes. At this point, no one is going to colonize this world. But anyway, whatever. I'm going to colonize it anyway because this is a tutorial and I have to show you what I'm going to do. But just bear in mind, don't set up a colony only to find out that the tax rate is 25% because you'll be really mad. Okay, now that we've talked about PACOs, or player-owned customs offices, and we've established that this particular world is a terrible place to set up a colony due to the high tax rate, let's go ahead and set the colony up anyway. So, view in planet mode. Let's get my scanner back up for heavy metals so I know where to make my colony. There it is. Alright, let's go to command centers. I have a lava command center. This will be grayed out if you don't actually have a lava command center in your hold. Luckily I do. And I'm going to launch it right there. And I didn't even have to decloak my ship. Isn't that great? Now, I've plunked it there. I'm going to click the submit button. Anytime you build structures or make changes to your colony, you're going to have to hit the submit button to make those changes permanent. Now that I have my colony, I'm going to upgrade it using my command center upgrade skill. There's a upgrade button right here. I'll upgrade it to level 4. I could upgrade it all the way because I have the skill, but I think this will be enough. You see here there's a cost associated, about 4 million, no big deal. Now hit submit again to make the change permanent, and now I have a command center. Now the command center has some functions all by itself. The command center functions are that it has a very, very, very small storage facility and capacity. It has the ability to launch things from that storage capacity, and the command center can actually launch things directly into space and bypass the PACO. But this is very, very costly. You probably won't make very much money if you have to bypass the PACO, but it is sort of there for you for emergency situations. But you're much better off selecting a planet where you either own the PACO or the person that owns the PACO isn't a complete jerk. No offense to whoever owns this PACO if you're watching this video, but you're a jerk. So, alright. Here we have heavy metals. Let's start by creating an extractor control unit. The extractor control unit has a radius, and the radius is, it's basically going to be able to mine any resources within the radius of this circle. And pretty much all the resources I want to mine are in that white area. So let's place it as close as can be to my command center, or close enough, like so. We're going to hit the submit button, and now we have our extractor control unit set up. Now that it's built, I'm going to go into its functionality, and I'm going to tell it to go after heavy metals. And there the scanner comes back up. Here I can select how many extractor heads I want to be active. Each extractor head costs power grid and CPU. I'm going to turn them all on. If I wanted to have multiple extractor control units on the planet, I probably wouldn't be able to have all the heads active on all of them at the same time. But this is going to be a one extractor planet. It's only going to extract one thing, so I can quite safely have all of the extractor heads on. Now you see all this sort of static-ness that's happening here? This just means that all of the heads are overlapping, and the heads are these circles, and they're not happy when they're overlapping with each other. So we're going to move them in a second. Now, extraction area size. If I increase this slider, the extractor heads are going to extract from this resource deposit over more time. And the more time they're extracting for, the bigger the area each of these circles becomes. It's not really worth explaining at great length. What the offshot of this is if I want to have a PI colony that I only have to come back and micromanage every week, here's my opportunity to make it that way. If I want to micromanage it every hour, I can do that too. The more you micromanage, the more often you come back to reset your mining heads and sort of tweak your colony, the more money you're going to make. But just figure out how often you as a person want to do this without going crazy is the main point here. So I'm going to set this to 2 days because why not? That seems like a reasonable amount of time to me. Now you see the circle has gotten quite big, and I'm going to plunk the circles down so that I have that very rich section covered. As best as I can. Let's change that resolution a little bit. There we go. So plunk these down just really quickly. There we go. Now I'm going to hit install program. But before I do, notice this graph. So this graph, what this extractor is going to do is it's going to break it down. It's breaking down the 2 days into 30-minute cycles. And each time it goes through a cycle, it extracts resources, and it goes back here. And every time it extracts resources, this deposit gets a little bit less rich, which is why we see the graph curve downward. Which is also why, if you're going to micromanage your extractor heads and move them around every hour, you make more money because you keep the graph up on this end. Okay, so install program. Now they're doing their thing. I'm going to hit submit, and we're good. So these miners are all going off to work. They're mining all the resources. They're singing their little mining song. And if you look at the structure itself, you see this little white dot appear, and this white dot is going to become a circle, and the circle goes around all the way until it reaches, until it's fully all the way around, and that's going to do that every 30 minutes. It's just a little graphical indication of how far into the cycle we are. Or we can just highlight it and we can see I'm 34 seconds in. Okay. Now, right now, as it's set up, I am not going to make any money at all because this thing has no storage capacity. It's just mining. So when this cycle's done, all of this resource is just going to be wasted. It doesn't have anywhere to go. I need to tell it to go somewhere. So, as I said, the command center's storage capacity and launch capacity is not the best. It's just very, very, very rudimentary. So I'm going to build a spaceport with a launch pad. Let's put the spaceport over here. Submit. Now I'm going to create a link. So I'm going to control click this to create a link or road to the spaceport. Click submit. And now that I have this link, the goods have a way to get to their destination. I can click the structure. I can click products. Here's my heavy metals. I'm going to create a route to here. Confirm that. Submit that. Now it's being sent to the launch pad. Now I can actually start to make money. I can confirm this by highlighting the launch pad, clicking routes, and now I see that I have 34,736 quantity of heavy metals incoming. It hasn't arrived yet, but it is on its way. It will be actually sent after this little white bar comes all the way around. Alright. Heavy metals. Well, are heavy metals any good? Are we going to make any money harvesting and making heavy metals? Well, some, yes, we'll make some money. But one way to make even more money is to upgrade the commodity or sort of enrich its value. So planetary commodities are divided into raw materials, processed materials, refined commodities, specialized commodities, and advanced commodities. And I'm using a little third-party application called EVE Online Planetary Interaction Commodities Relations, which you can find, just do a Google search for it, or, you know, maybe you could even just look at this address right here and bookmark it. Now this is very useful. Now let's say I'm in a wormhole system that has no ice planets, no lava planets, no oceanic planets, and no storm planets. It only has these four types of planets: barren, gas, plasma, and temperate. Well, this has this handy-dandy feature that it shows me all the stuff I can make in this planet with the resources, or in this hypothetical wormhole system, based upon the worlds it contains. So let's talk about heavy metals. So this is what I happen to be mining. Now, heavy metals are worth... Oh yeah, right, this is the test server. I'm not really going to be able to see what this is worth in real life. But I would be able to click on this and it would open up the market and I'd be able to see what it was worth. And if I clicked on toxic metals, which is what heavy metals can be refined into, it would be worth significantly more, and it would also take up significantly less space in my cargo hold. So your ISK per meter cubed goes way up every time you refine it. Okay? Toxic metals can be used to make enriched uranium, along with some other stuff, and enriched uranium can be used to make, you know, various other things. So refining your goods is a really good way to make more money with PI. So let's refine this. Let's refine this heavy metal into, what was it? Toxic metals. So we're going to need to build processors, and we're going to build a basic industry facility, and let's build some over here. I'm going to build 4 of them. Now, I'm just going to set up one of these because you just basically rinse repeat the same steps. But before I do that, first we need to put in roads, and I'm just going to highlight a very common mistake. Roads, or links as they're actually called, do take up CPU and power grid. And the bigger the world, so the higher the radius of the world, which we can see by showing the planetary info. We look at the radius, 2,730 kilometers. That's not too bad. But if this were a gas world, that could be 10 times, 20 times as large. So these roads suddenly become very, very, very long indeed, and the power grid that they take up and CPU that they take up just becomes a real burden, and limits what you can do with the world, and limits how far away you can go afield to get resources. So minimizing how long these roads are really is quite important. So making my roads go like this, each road going into the center, is a mistake. What I want to do is make each of these roads as short as I possibly can. So, and I'm just control clicking to create the road, control click, and make the roads go in like this instead. And that way I'm taking advantage of the radius of this building, I'm doubling the use of this road. It just makes more sense. A lot less length of road. And if I really wanted to be smart, I could delete this road here and move it to here, because I'm pretty sure that would be slightly shorter. But anyway, you get the idea. Alright, so hit submit, create those roads. Now, I need to tell this factory that you are going to start making toxic metals. There you go. Make some toxic metals. There you go. And while you're at it, when you're making those toxic metals, and you finish making them, why don't you send them to this launch pad over here. the same premise as when we sent it from the mine to the launch pad. If we don't actually tell this product once it's created where to go when it's done being created, it just sits there and it basically gets wasted because there's no storage capacity there. It sort of just jams up the whole works. Okay, so this guy is creating toxic metals, and when the toxic metals are created, it's going to be sent to this launch pad. But now it can't do anything because it needs the input material. No problem. Go to the launch pad, go to roots, and I see that there's heavy metals incoming. It hasn't arrived yet, but it is incoming, and that's good enough for me to create a route to redirect it to this factory. Create route. Submit. So of my 4 factories, or 4 industry facilities as they're technically called, one of them is ready to go. I just need to repeat that process for the other 3, and I'll be right back. Hit submit. Now everything's good. So what is going to happen, to reiterate this one more time and just beat the dead horse, my extractor control unit is about halfway done getting its first load of goods extracted from the ground. They're going to be sent here. From here, they're going to be redirected to these 4 facilities where they're going to start the process of upgrading it to this product, heavy metals to toxic metals. And the toxic metals, when they're done, are going to go here. And by the way, that's going to take 30 minutes. So when this gets sent over here and gets sent here, I'll see a new white little circle start to go around in a circle. So that means in about 45 minutes time, I'm going to start to get my very first shipment of refined Tier 2 planetary goods in my launch pad. Now, it so happens that I set up another colony in this system that we can look at. So let's go to the E in the business area, planetary colonies, and we'll go to this barren world here I have set up. Now in this world, here's my extractor control unit, here's my launch pad, and here's 4 facilities. It's very similar to the last world, except what I'm doing here is I'm extracting carbon compounds, I'm shipping them here, they're being sent out to these industry facilities, and they're being turned into biofuels, and then the biofuels are then being returned to the launch pad. So I actually have, in this launch pad here, in the storage area, I have some biofuels, and I have some residual carbon compounds, just because right now this extractor unit is extracting slightly more carbon compounds out of the ground than these facilities need, so I have a little bit of a surplus. But I'll leave it there because this is extracting for 2 days. Eventually we'll reach the point where this isn't quite making enough to meet the demand of these 4 items, so then the residue or the surplus will start to get eaten away at. Alright, so let's hit the launch button, and what I have now is the interface for the Planetary Customs Office. Now, everything that appears on the right hand side is down on the planet in this facility here that I'm highlighting. Everything that I drag to the left side gets launched up into space, and I'll be able to then pick it up at the Paco in my ship, which I will do in a moment. And the transfer cost of 16,000 ISK is actually influenced by the tax rate. So if the tax rate were 0, there would be no cost for launching this up into space. And as I said earlier, this tax rate is ridiculous, but anyway. So I'm going to hit transfer. The money gets deducted from my account. The money, now this is sitting up in the Paco. So let's go back to space, hit exit planet mode, and here I am in space. Let's go warp to that customs office and go grab those biofuels. So this is planet 1 we wanted to go to. Planet 1, customs office, warp to 0. Now if I really wanted to be on the ball and make this switcheroo happen really quickly so that I didn't have to decloak for very long, let's say we're, doing Ninja PI, I would go to the planet, I go to 1, I go to customs office, I access customs office. Drag and drop. cannot do that while cloaked, but I'm decloaking. There we go. Go back to somewhere else. Let's get the heck out of here. Run away! Cloak up as soon as we get far enough away. There we go. Cloak up. So, jeez, didn't work. Anyway, what I tried to illustrate there, maybe not that elegantly, was basically that you have the ability to open up a customs office in two ways. You can open it up by highlighting it in space and clicking the little open button, but then you're going to have to approach it and, you know, all that stuff. Right? You're going to have to be on the grid with it. But if you want to have it ready ahead of time, you can also access it through the planet mode. So, Planet 1, Customs Office, Access Customs Office. Don't have to be on grid with it, okay? So you can do all of your interactions, you can have it open, and then you just warp to it, you drag it over, and then you're off. You can be aligning and getting the heck out of there super fast. Alright, well, I think that's the end of the tutorial. I have my biofuels. I'm going to take them to the market. I'm going to sell them. I'm going to spend all my money on internet spaceships. I hope you guys have a good one.